"Mom, Joey won't give me the doll." "Joey, behave yourself with your sister," I replied without much enthusiasm, trying my best to contain my irritation at the fact that the children were arguing at such a time. So what if they were still young? Was it really that hard to understand what was going on? I didn't look at them. I just couldn't. I couldn't bear what they so vividly reminded me of. They were just children. They didn't understand why I couldn't care less about some doll at their father's funeral. Logically, I understood it all, but I couldn't accept it. I felt awkward. It wasn't the time to argue with the children when the whole church, packed with people, was looking at us with such pity. Of course, they all meant well, but I felt like everyone was eager to take me under their wing. No one dared to speak to me, not even my own family. I couldn't blame them. What could they say? The poor grieving widow. From now on, they would only see me like that. Everything felt very acute. It had only been 2 weeks since the accident. I still felt the pain in my injured spine. Can what happened be called an accident? Perhaps that person didn't intend to kill my husband, but he still drank the bottle dry before getting behind the wheel. A drunk driver. A tragic accident. What if such a tragic accident took away everything that was your world? Ben. Ben and the kids were my entire world. I was in the car too when that walking piece of shit crashed into us. The next few hours were a blur. The doctors said I was in shock. They hid so much from me. The pain cut me from the inside, as if I had swallowed knives. It was only hours later that the doctors told me about Ben's death. After that, I lay sleepless in the ward at night, regretting that I didn't die. Mom came to visit me on the day of my discharge. That's when I got really angry with her. Why did she bring the kids? I wasn't ready to take on the burden of parenthood again. Wasn't that obvious? My heart had just been ripped out. You have to do something, Kel. Think about the kids. Only those little angels can help you get through this, she choked out through sobs. How selfish, how damn selfish. She dumped those 2 heartless little creatures on me, oozing with curiosity and questions, while I was trying to mourn their father. She didn't even say goodbye, just left them, those pitiful little parasites, and disappeared. I hated Mom for it. But she was right. I needed them. The next few nights were spent watching them sleep. I didn't look at their faces, I couldn't, but those little hands, legs, rising chests, they comforted me. I literally lived in their bedrooms. I watched their breathing and got distracted. It was my way of reminding myself that something alive was near me. Sometimes I saw Ben. He smiled at me from the other end of the room, through piles of toys scattered on the floor. And only then did I find peace. I sat, watched them sleep, and tried to piece together the fragments of the accident. Everything was blurry. There was Ben nearby as a blurry spot. There he was driving us home. There he was panic braking. Another car crashing into us from the side. Chaos in our tiny metal box. Ben. His head thrown back. Dead. Here it is, my worst fear, to have my heart ripped out. Or is it? I became a bundle of nerves, barely able to function. Every time it seemed like I could breathe calmly, even for a second, I saw that car rushing towards us again. The crash reverberated in my ears, and never a full picture. Always the same tiny, terrifying fragments. I watched my daughter Jade's chest rise and fall rhythmically. She was only 6. She barely remembered Ben. Neither did her little brother Joey, sleeping in the next room, who was only 4, raising them alone, without my better half. Is this my worst fear? I flitted from one child's room to another, watched them, desperately avoiding sleep. Sleep brought nightmares. Nightmares I wasn't ready to face. If I close my eyes and see Ben, will it be the Ben I want to remember? Or, closing my eyes, will I see his corpse? His neck bent over the seat, blood dripping from his nose. Bang. No, I'm not ready to sleep yet. Not ready to see that. I didn't make the kids go to daycare. Who would? They didn't even blink an eye when their lives changed so drastically, as if their father never existed. We spent those 2 weeks locked in our bubble of grief, and they kept on bickering about that damn doll. It hurt too much to mention their father, and they never once asked about him. That hurt too. Have they already forgotten about him? Will they forget about me just as easily? Is this my worst fear? The funeral arrangements were made quickly. I flipped through catalogs of funeral wreaths, while the kids bickered in the background, interrupting me on every heart-wrenching page. Mom, Joey won't give me the doll, that doll. That stupid damn doll. I'm sure Jade repeated this phrase for the 1000th time. Why do kids always harp on about the same thing? How can they even worry about something so trivial? When she started this tune again on the bench during the funeral, after I'd already told Joey to behave, I snapped back. I couldn't take it anymore. I was tired of endless squabbles. Both of you, knock it off. Your father is dead. Don't you see all these crying people? The whole church fell silent, gasping in unison. Overwhelming pity washed over me, and it was awful. And now what? Will I forever be an outcast? Will my worst fear be to become just an object of pity for all my peers? A living memorial to Ben? Perhaps. Ben's mother approached me. I'd been avoiding her since he was gone. Didn't pick up the phone. Didn't open the door. I couldn't look at her. Just like I couldn't look at the children I'd just scolded so publicly. The children who had just lost their father. I just froze in place, completely knocked off balance, with snot running down my face. Kelly, Ben's mom, sobbed. Everyone was crying. Everyone was sad, so why the hell were they only pitying me? Most mourners took a step back from me. They felt too uncomfortable to rush to comfort the grieving widow, but not uncomfortable enough to stop staring. I couldn't understand them. And I hated being the center of attention. Maybe this selfish thought was my worst fear. I slid back into the depths of the bench, trying not to crush my already traumatized children behind me. They were right behind me. I needed to see tonight how they breathed, how their tiny chests rose and fell under the covers, to know I wasn't alone. Ben's mom sat down next to me. There was sympathy written all over her face, condescending, pity-filled sympathy and genuine concern. She cared. I felt a pang of guilt for ignoring her. I shifted slightly so she could see her grandchildren, Ben's children. They were right behind me. Kelly, I understand you're in shock, but you need help. You know they're no longer with us. All of them? Well, that was just absurd. They were right there, arguing, right there, damn it. Wait, no. My eyes darted around the vaulted room, catching on the chaos of light and dark spots. There were more than one coffin in the hall. What, you've lost your child doesn't give you the right to insinuate, I retorted. But at that moment, a horrifying thought crawled out of the depths of my memory. The other coffins were so small. I turned around, but I didn't see my children fighting over a doll in mourning attire on the church bench. No, this time I saw them fighting over that same doll in the back seat of the car, strapped into their little car seats. The kids were in the car too. They were right behind me. I blinked, but the memory was too strong. I couldn't force myself back into the church, try as I might. I was stuck in the front seat of the car. That night, right after the restaurant visit, we buckled up. The kids argued, and I was fed up. But Ben couldn't stop smiling. He never did. That guy was always so damn cheerful. Why couldn't I? Why couldn't I just listen to this endless bickering and hear bird songs like Ben? Every time the kids opened their mouths, why did I only hear damn squabbles? Mom, Joey won't give me the doll. Those were the last words before the blow. In an instant, I was teleported back to the vast, empty church, alone on the bench with my late husband's mother, the grandmother of my dead children. Suddenly, my mother's words about two little angels made sense. All this sea of pity made sense. The endless repetition of that damn doll made sense. It wasn't Jade. It was me, desperately trying to remember. I hadn't seen all of this before. The accident was so blurred in my memory. I mourned. I didn't want to believe it. But now it all became clear. My children were right behind me. They were right behind me during the accident, and they died. I pondered this thought, heavily. I looked at their tiny coffins and tried to digest a million emotions at once. Was this situation my worst fear? Logically, one might think so. Is yours not the same? The mourners finally left the room. I sighed deeply, tried to stand up, leave, and accept life without them. A pitiful, lonely existence. But as soon as I turned around to leave, "Mom, Joey won't give me the doll." I turned around and saw them, standing in the same clothes as that day, only dirtier, torn, bloodied. I blinked, but they didn't leave. They followed me to their graves. And then home. I tried everything, but they're still there, right behind me. Fighting over the doll as I write this. I was wrong. About my worst fear. I never feared that the children would be behind me. Most of all, I fear they always will be.